What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing the long-awaited Great League Battle of Spice, featuring 20 of the most insane teams you've ever seen put together. And I'm not exaggerating, this might be the best Battle of Spice competition we've had in a very long time. Now, for anyone new to the channel, the Battle of Spice is a competition I host every season during Go Battle Week, where the aim is to record a win with the spiciest and most unique team you can possibly put together, and then the community will vote in a series of polls until eventually we have a winner. Now, two things I want to mention just as a reminder that Go Battle Week was the very first week of the season, so most of the battles are in the very early ranks, and whilst a lot of the battles are against very competent opponents, there is the odd battle here and there against the sort of sub-optimal team you might expect to see in those early ranks. So yeah, just to remind you, it's not because these players are at low elo, it was literally just the first week of the season. Now, secondly, there are 20 battles featured in this video, which seems like a fairly easy number to split into groups of the polls. You just go for 5 groups of 4, and then in the final you'd have 5 teams featured, but unfortunately the max limit for polls on YouTube these days is only 4, so I'm not really sure how to do it. It might be that the final poll is done externally, but if you have any other ideas, please do let me know in the comments. But anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What's the rarest Pokemon you have built for the Great League? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle. We got a crazy triple XL team here with a level 50 Pikipek in the lead up against Credilli. We're going to fight for Drill Peck here. Looks like that wasn't quite a CMP tie here. So Drill Peck is going to be no-shielded, and it wasn't a CMP tie. So at this point, we're going to shield, and the opponent goes for a Rock Slide rather than a Rock Tomb. And now they swap into a Quaquaval, which doesn't really make an awful lot of sense. But either way, we're going to go for Drill Peck. Drill Peck going to grab a shield there, and Pikipek putting in the work, able to reach yet another Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to grab the final shield, and then we swap. We make a catch into our Woobat. The opponent full sent a close combat, which is double resisted up against the Woobat. They're now going to come in with their final Pokemon, which is a Clodsire, and things are looking really good for us right now. We go for Psyshock. Psyshock does decent damage. They can reach a charge move, but we can just safely shield this up. We can then look to overfarm in this matchup. We're going to farm up to back-to-back Air Cutters before going for the charge move. Air Cutter gets the KO. We don't get the boost there, but we're going to swap into our Shadow Trickerita, which is a Hundo. I believe it's level 48 or 49, so not quite maxed out just yet. But either way, we're still going to reach a Grass Knot. Grass Knot, neutral damage. It takes out the Credilli, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we've got the OG Kanto Fossils here with Aerodactyl in the lead, which gained a big buff this season, gaining access to Dragon Breath. We're going to swap out Catch a Charge Move onto our Omanyte, as the opponent is going to go straight for a Surf. Now, we should be able to reach an Ancient Power here, and we're actually able to throw it on CMP, it looks like, up against this Jellicent. Ancient Power is going to connect, and at this point, we probably just let the move go through here. Yeah, we're going to no-shield, Surf gets the KO, but we can come in with our Kabuto, and Kabuto's actually got a pretty decent moveset here. Mudshot obviously not as strong as it used to be, but both Aqua Jet and Rock Tomb are great charge moves. Aqua Jet actually gets the KO from that range, and they come in with an Alola Marowak. That is an amazing matchup for us. Of course, Fire Spin, double resisted by the Rock and Water typing. Aqua Jet is going to grab the first shield, and at this point, we probably just shield anyways. The opponent is going to go for that Bone Club, which would hit for super effective damage. We can go for another Aqua Jet, and if they end up shielding this, then we're going to go for the combo play, banking a Rock Slide on our Aerodactyl earlier in the battle. Rock Slide gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is Morpeko. At this point, you can see we've got access to Earth Power. We can just safely shield up the Aura Wheel, and we are just a few Dragon Breaths away from the charge move. And Earth Power is going to hit for super effective damage into Morpeko. It easily gets the one-shot, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we got Santa and 2 of his reindeers, and excuse my voice, I have a bit of a phlegmy throat right now, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to get through the commentary here, but either way, we're going to swap out, and I've used Stantler a few times. Honestly, the best thing you can possibly do with this Pokemon is just use it as a third shield, because it is so bad. Like, Tackle is the fast move, it's just really restricting it, but we're going to come in with the Weird Ear. The opponent's going to swap out there, and luckily for us, we did not commit to a Wild Charge, instead going for Stomp. Stomp is is going to connect, and we are just barely able to swap out, bank a charge move, and come in with the Delibird. They also full sent a dig there, not even the Bone Club a dig. That is huge for us, as it is also double resisted, but it's also costing quite a lot of energy for them. We can go for Icy Wind, winning CMP up against the Marowak, and grabbing a shield. We shield the next one. They go for dig again, so potentially not even running Rock Slide for coverage. They swap back into their Miltank. However, I'm now realizing they're not even running Rollout as a fast move. I think that might be Zen Headbutt. We full send the Wild Charge, dealing decent damage in the process. And if these were rollouts, they would be hitting for huge damage. Honestly, even Zen Headbutt's hitting kind of hard here, but we can reach the Fly. Fly is a pretty good charge move. Fly gets the KO there, and can we still reach a last second Icy Wind? Just barely able to do so, as we are double resisting Mud Slap. Icy Wind gets the KO on 1 HP and a Dream, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we got a shiny Hundo level 50 into Ace of Titans. So a great lead matchup for us. However, of course, they're going to have access to superpower, so it's not that comfortable. However, they end up swapping out of the matchup and into a Jellicent. Probably looking to try and catch a flamethrower or any fire type move from the Hundo. They might not even know what charge moves it learns. But either way, we come in with the Spinda. The opponent is able to reach back-to-back surfs here, which isn't really ideal for us. But they do get us fairly low there. I guess we give minimal farm to the opponent that comes in here, except if they come in with a Shadow Sableye, as unfortunately Shadow Claw is double resisted, whilst that's usually a good thing. This is actually going to allow a very aggressive farm down. The opponent actually banks a foul play, and then swaps back into Sir Titan. But our Hundo already has a charge move loaded. We go straight for Crunch. Crunch is going to debuff their defense, and then we're able to swap and catch a charge move. And because we were so low, they end up baiting with an Icicle Spear, as that would have pretty much taken out the Hundo. But now, of course, we're going to shield, as the opponent is going to full send that superpower. The opponent's going to bank some energy, then swap back into that Shadow Sableye. So very good energy management on the opponent's end here, but we can go for a Surf. Surf will definitely get the KO from this range. The opponent likely saving the shield for the Sir Titan, but we can come back in with the Houndour. We're going to shield this up here, and I believe they might be one away from the next charge move, which they are going to get to. This is definitely going to KO. However, unfortunately for them, we can just come in, Water Gun, farm them down with Tier 2, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we've got a shiny Ludicolo in the lead, which I don't think is particularly spicy, especially this season, gaining access to both Weather Ball and Astonish. But we do also have a Hundo level 50 Pikachu in the back, a Pikachu Libre as well, one of the rarest Pokemon in the game. The opponent's going to swap out here. We're going to go straight for Leaf Storm, dealing big damage before swapping back into our Pikachu. At this point, we are going to shield this, as they full sent the Shadow Ball there. We're now going to look to overfarm and go for a Flying Press. A Flying Press is going to be super effective. Flying Press gets the KO there. They're going to come back in with the Gourgeist. Unfortunately, we can only hit for resisted damage, so we go for Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to be stabbed, but we end up grabbing a shield anyways. That's definitely fine with us. Honestly, that would have done like basically no damage whatsoever. We're now going to come in with the Soul Rock, and the opponent's final Pokemon is a Blastoise. Now, you can see we are running Solar Beam. We gained access to Fire Weather Ball this season, but we're sticking with Solar Beam in this battle, and it's going to be very helpful for us because we can full send it into Blastoise here. Do they respect it? They absolutely don't. Solar Beam gets the one shot, and we can now safely just shield up the charge move here. I don't believe they will be reaching 2 charge moves, so we sideway, farm them down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see another triple level 50 team here with Rowlet in the lead up against a Greninja. This is going to be a good matchup for us. We are going to no-shield the first move as they fire off a Night Slash. They end up getting the boost, which is unfortunate. We don't throw straight away here, so that is interesting. But we're going to shield up the next Night Slash, and they can now swap into a Shadow Scizor. We're going to come in with a level 50 Sobble, which I've never seen in action before. They go for Trailblaze, of course. These Water Guns are actually seriously chunking right now. We can go for a Charge Move here as the opponent is going to end up shielding, and the opponent is gonna get the full farm down, which is unfortunate, but we come in with a level 50 Laleep. They go for Night Slash there, which doesn't deal too much damage, and we've got 2 grass types up against their Gastrodon. This is amazing for us, and remember, Rowlet does have energy stored, so Grass Knot is going to grab the final shield. We stay in, we just force him to throw some energy here. The opponent goes for Water Pulse, which actually doesn't KO there, meaning we can now come in with that Rowlet, fire off the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb also doesn't KO, but even better, allows us a full farm down. They come in with their Greninja. Excuse me there. Greninja gonna go down to the Seed Bomb, and we can actually resist it, farm them down there with the Leafage to take that game. So going into the next battle, we've got Shadow Gardevoir, and we're going to see a Skarmory in the lead. So we're going to swap into an Eevee, which only has resisted charge moves here. This is a really bad matchup for the Eevee. I guess, hopefully, we would like to see the opponent swap out of this matchup, but nope, they're going to stay in with the Skarmory, recognizing this is a really good matchup for them. They go for Sky Attack, which does quite a lot of damage there. We're going to go for another Swift. Unfortunately, just not going to deal that much damage, but we end up grabbing both shields somehow. I don't know what's going on there, but we're now going to full send a Dig. Dig is also resisted. And yeah, honestly, Skarmory did not need to shield in this matchup whatsoever, but we'll definitely take that 2-shield advantage. The opponent gonna full send another Sky Attack there. We are now gonna look to go straight for the Flame Burst. Flame Burst, unfortunately, not a very good charge move, but it will get the KO up against the Skarmory. They're gonna come in with a Bite Zweilous, and we're not on Charm. We are on Confusion, which is obviously way worse in this matchup, but we can go for Triple Axle. Triple Axle gets the KO there. Their final Pokemon is double weak to Ice, but they get the full farm down. And here we do still, of course, have a shield remaining. We are going to have to shield this. They go for a Sand Tomb bait, but we are just barely able to outpace them to another Flame Burst. Flame Burst will be taking out the Gliscor, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to lead Grafaiai into a Blastoise. So this is an interesting matchup for us. We are actually going to swap out and catch a resisted Hydro Cannon onto a level 50 Morlul. Now the opponent's going to choose to stay in this matchup, at least initially. Looks like they're banking another Hydro Cannon before coming in with a Florges. Now if they're running the Chilling Water and Trailblaze moveset, then we're actually going to resist the charge moves. However, we are fairly low, so a Trailblaze should KO, and they probably should go for Trailblaze to boost up their attack stat. But we do have a Poison Fang banked on Grafaiai, so it'll be interesting to see, do we come in with it? No, instead, gonna come in with our Phantump, of course, expecting to be able to resist everything anyways, and they swap at the same time as us, but they swap into Shadow Typhlosion. We can go straight for Poison Fang. Poison Fang is gonna grab a shield. The opponent trying to throw on good timing, meaning we get to another Poison Fang. We just straight up get the KO there. They come back in with the Blastoise, and we should be looking fine. The opponent has overfarmed just a little bit here, but we can go for the Poison Fang. We were going to throw it on CMP. The opponent doesn't actually throw at all, but we can just come in with the Phantump, and we are going to shield. Respect the damage from a potential Ice Beam, and they full send it. Now we're going to watch out for a catch. They tried to make the catch there. Doesn't work out for them. Now we can just go for Seed Bomb. We don't need to hit any bubbles. Seed Bomb takes out the Blastoise, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, another Triple XL team leading with Charmander into a Sunny Cherrim. This is a great matchup for us. The opponent is just going to go straight for a Fire Weather Ball, which of course is resisted, so that's fine. We are now going to go straight for maybe a Fire Punch, I think this is. Nope, Flame Charge. Flame Charge going to boost up our attack stats, and the opponent comes in with an extra sensory Noctowl, which is interesting to see. We're going to go for a Flame Charge again, then coming in with Magnemite. So grabbing the final shield there, which is very nice. We're going to shield this just in case it's a Shadow Ball, I guess, or a Nightshade, but it ends up being a Psychic, which is unfortunate for us. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Thunderbolt gets the KO there, but they're going to come in with a Hex, a load of Marowak. So at this point, we're actually able to throw on CMP here. Winning CMP, Thunderbolt does big damage. And I think okay, never mind, I was going to say, I think we probably just let this move go through, but we're not actually going to shield this, then come in with the Charmander and force the opponent to throw some energy. Interesting play, just because I feel like Scraggy would do very good there, as we are on Feint Attack. They're going to come back in with the Cherrim, and of course all shields are down. Cherrim could have access to Dazzling Gleam, however they just fire off the Weather Ball there. We're going to go straight for a Break Break. Break Break is going to debuff their defense, and now whilst Feint Attack isn't exactly a good fast move, we should be able to fast move farm them down here. They go for another Weather Ball. We're coming back in with the Magnite to get the resisted Thundershock farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, another triple level 50 team. This time, a triple Shadow team. But the opponent's going to swap into Blastoise. And this is quite tricky for our team. We've got two Pokemon in the back that are, of course, going to be weak to the Rock typing. So we are just full sending a Blizzard. This is resisted, but it nearly gets the one-shot. We can actually snipe with Staravia. That is insane damage. And now they're going to come in with a Togekiss. Now, they're on Charm here, which is not ideal for us, as it is a bit more fast move pressure than Peck. But we can go for the charge move. The opponent is going to fire for charge move of their own. And can we actually reach another move here? It looks like we will just barely be able to get to another move here. Gonna go for another fly, and fly coming through is going to be grabbing the final shield. Now we come in with our Shelmet on acid as the fast move. We're able to swap, make a really nice catch there, catching onto the Iron Sand Slash, a flamethrower as well. That is insane. We can now go for the full acid farm down. They're going to come back in with Lurantis. We can go straight for Signal Beam. Signal Beam, gonna do huge damage, and we can reach another one. Could have gone for Body Slam, but you know what? We've got the energy. Signal Beam takes out Lurantis, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we've got a triple Shiny Shadow theme team here with Shiny Shadow Tyranitar in the lead, of course, with the new Dragon Breath update for this season. We're going to shield here, and I think, honestly, the longer this matchup plays out, the better it is for Tyranitar, as eventually we will put them into range where Brutal Swing will KO, and we do slightly outpace them in the matchup as well. So at this point, we're going to continue to overfarm, farming up to at least back-to-back Brutal Swings before throwing. Brutal Swing does get the KO there, and they're going to come in with a Pelipper. Now we farm up to the Stone Edge, we're going to bait, and the opponent actually calls the bait there, which is a huge call on their end. We're going to go for another Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is going to be shielded, and now we swap into our Shiny Shadow Metagross. Not the best matchup for us because we've only got resisted damage, but they go for Weather Ball. Weather Ball does big damage, but they end up swapping into a Gothitelle, which is going to hit for double resisted confusion damage, and so they just concede the match. Into the next battle, and I am realizing this battle is unfortunately probably already sped up a little bit here, so I usually put it in 2 times speed. This looks like it's like nearly 3 or 4 times speed in all honesty, so apologies for that. But yeah, we're going to commentate anyways. They came in with Empoleon. We came in with our Palkia. We should be shielding here as the opponent is going to go for Hydro Cannon, but they are back-to-back charge moves already. So we no-shield the next one, which does neutral damage. They come in with a Kanto Marowak, and here we do have access to the Overheat. Overheat nearly one-shots the Sableye. Actually allows a farm down for our Wooloo, which is level 50. We're now going to go for Payback. Payback does big damage. We're able to tackle, farm down the Marowak, and take that game. Alright, back to normality here as we can actually commentate properly. Gonna see a shiny Bite Morpeko in the lead. That is really interesting to see. But we're going to stay in this matchup here. The opponent swaps into a Poliwrath, and we're going to come in with a shiny Minun. Going to go straight for Discharge here. Discharge is going to be grabbing the final shield already from the opponent. And at this point, are we going to shield? We are going to shield, and they full send a Dynamic Punch. At this point, we can now look to overfarm just a little bit here. Discharge, not the best charge move these days, so unfortunately it doesn't quite KO there. But at this point, we're probably just going to have to no-shield this. Yeah, going to no-shield. They go for another Dynamic Punch. We're going to come back in with the Teddy Ursa. And their final Pokemon is going to be a Swoobat. So we swap. Unfortunately, we are going to be weak to Confusions here. But the opponent goes for Psychic Fangs, debuffing our defense. We need to commit to the Crunch, and we will get there just barely in time. Crunch coming through. Gets the KO. They come back in with Morpeko, but Bite so slow to gain energy. We're able to outpace them to the Cross Chop. And Cross Chop is super effective. It gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we've got a Shiny Shadow Magnemite into Satitan. A great lead matchup for us, of course, resisting the fast lead damage. They're going to have access to Superpower this season, so we do have to be wary of that. But we can reach back-to-back discharges as they get to back-to-back Superpowers. So we're going to shield here. The opponent is going to full send the Superpower. We then actually go for the extra Volt Switch, maybe just in case the opponent try to make a catch. And now, because they've double Superpowered, we can fully Volt Switch farm them all the way down. Now, they come in with a Steelix, which isn't ideal. They do wall the energy. However, they're also not really hitting for much fast food pressure either. So we are going to come in with a... I don't even know what this Pokemon is called here. Sinistea, and we are going to no-shield. I think we're on Sucker Punch as the fast move. Gonna full send a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets the KO there. They're going to come in with a Shadow for Alligator, and we do have a Discharge already loaded. So Discharge should be grabbing the final shield, and we're going to stay in this matchup just to get off the Volt Switch damage, which hopefully puts them into range where an Icy Wind will KO. The opponent gonna go for the Ice Beam, which does big damage, but Frigibax able to hang on with 1 HP and a Dream, get the KO with that Icy Wind, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, a triple Shadow team here with Zeb Striker, Shadow Excelgor, and a Tornadus. And that is such a spicy Pokemon. I've literally not even bothered battling against Giovanni because I know it's just going to be rubbish. I might end up battling against Giovanni very late towards the end of its rotation, just because I might end up doing a triple Shadow Genie team in the Great League eventually. But either way, we're going to double bait with Acid Sprays and grab both shields up against a Steel-type Pokemon, which double resists it. We're now going to come in with the Tornadus. They could have access to Stone Edge. We got a shield, and they do full send the Stone Edge there. So, of course, a great shield there. Then I'm going to come in with a Gastrodon, and this is such a good matchup for us. We've got Grass Knot. Grass Knot gets the one shot there. They come back in with the Malamar, and they can fire for charge. Of course, this will be getting the KO, but Zeb Striker going to come in, and unfortunately, we don't quite get to the charge move here. But Superpower doesn't take us out there, and now we can go for Discharge. They've debuffed themselves. Discharge gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see Shadow Zapdos into a Spiritomb. So this is going to be a fairly neutral matchup here. Of course, Rock Tomb going to debuff our attack stat. We are actually going to overfarm slightly further than the Rock Tomb there. So that was quite risky. They could have thrown straight away and debuffed us. Actually, no, never mind. That was on CMP if they threw the Rock Tomb straight away. But we're now going to swap into a Toxicroak, resisting the fast move damage. Could have gone for Shadow Ball there, but we are not going to. Instead, the opponent is going to full send their own Shadow Ball, and they swap into Gourgeist. Now, are they going to shield the first move here? Shadow Ball is going to be shielded, unfortunately, but the opponent going to go for a Seed Bomb. Can we tank this? It is resisted damage. Seed Bomb doesn't get the KO there, meaning we can reach a second Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will be enough damage to easily take out the Gourgeist there, but we're going to swap back into Shadow Zapdos, going for that combo play. Jolpeck gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is a Bastiodon. Now, this is going to be fine for the Aegislash here, as all we need to do is farm up to back-to-back charge moves, and 2 Shadow Balls should actually just barely be enough damage to get the KO. The opponent is now going to look to overfarm, probably waiting for us to change forms before they end up throwing. So, at this point, all we have to do is make sure we don't throw on a CMP type, which we're not going to do here, meaning, of course, we can form change, but we can go for back-to-back Shadow Balls anyways. So, the first one coming through does big damage. We go for Shadow Ball number 2, and is this enough damage? It absolutely is, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, a triple electric team here, leading with Shadow Galvantula on Fury Cutter, which is going to be great coverage for us because, of course, we're going to see a Gastrodon in the lead, which typically up against electric types would be very strong. At this point, we go for Lunge, we debuff their attack stat. They're going to go for Body Slam, and unfortunately, we are barely going to get farmed down before we can farm them down, and we come in with our Pikachu Libre. The opponent going to go for Body Slam there. They are debuffed, so it doesn't deal too much damage, and they've actually got a Bastiodon in the back. So at this point, going to go for Flying Press. Flying Press does huge damage into Bastiodon, and their final Pokemon is going to be Amandabuzz. So we're actually going to bait with a Brick Break here. This is a little bit risky, but, I mean, surely they just shield anyways, and they do. So at this point, we're in a really good position. We're actually going to no-shield this. It's going to be the Aerial Ace. That's fine with us. We're now going to farm up to 1 away from back-to-back Wild Charges. First one grabs the final shield there, and now we are going to shield. The opponent goes for Aerial Ace. Once again, they swap back into Bastiodon. We can go straight for Brick Break. Brick Break, double super effective. It gets the KO there, and then we swap out to clear the debuff, I guess, but we wouldn't have been fast move farm down there. But Pikachu going to go for the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch does not get the KO, so we're just going to no-shield this, as of course Aerial Ace resisted damage, still gets the KO there, but we can come in, go for the Wild Charge, and of course, from pretty much full health, this would KO. Wild Charge takes out the Amandabuzz, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we're going to see another Morlul, which is crazy. We have never seen this Pokemon in the Battle of Spice, and now seeing 2 of them in the same video. Unfortunately, a huge core breaker to the team as we see a Credilli in the lead here. We're going to swap out. I guess we were trying to catch a Rock Tomb, but they ended up going for Rock Tomb anyways. So here, we're going to go for a Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to deal super effective damage. Of course, they had just debuffed our attack stat. So at this point, we're going to no-shield, and they go for another Rock Tomb there. Could have easily taken us out if they just went for the Grass Knot, but now, because the Switch Shocks are so misaligned, we can come back in with the Morlul. They go for Body Slam. We're now going to look to overfarm, fire off the Seed Bomb just before they reach Body Slam number 2. Seed Bomb going to be shielded by the opponent. And at this point, are we going to shield? Yeah, we're going to shield. We might as well. We have the seed bomb loaded now. We're going to go for it straight away, making sure they can't make any catches. Seed bomb doesn't KO there, so we snipe with a Psywave from our Inkay. Again, another level 50 Pokemon. They're going to come in with a Shadow Talonflame, and we're full sending the Psybeam. Psybeam going to be shielded by the opponent. The opponent cannot commit to a full farm down here. I mean, I guess they technically could have done, but we would have reached a charge move. So they go for Flame Charge, but I believe Frillish already has back-to-back charge moves. We're going for Ice Beam. Maybe this does more damage in neutral situations. It definitely gets the KO there. And now we can go for Nightshade into the Credilli coming back in. Nightshade gets KO, and we're able to take that game. Going into the next battle, we're going to see a level 50 Hisuian Zorua into a Galarian Corsola. I forgot what this thing was called for a second there, but we're going to go for the charge move, and despite the fact that we are resisting the Astonish damage, they're still dealing way more damage than we're dealing with these non-stab Snarls. We're going to shield here as they do go for the Power Gem. Probably a little bit unnecessary. Honestly, they could have just gotten away with going for Nightshade there, but either way, we full send a Shadow Ball into the Shadow Gligar, and now we swap into our Kartana. Leaf Blade is going to connect. It does huge damage there. At this point, we're probably just going to no-shield this. Yeah, going to no-shield. Night Slash doesn't quite KO, but they do get the Fury Cutter farm down. But we can now come in with the Zorua. We're going to shield this. Look to go for a Snarl farm down. The opponent actually swaps back into the Corsola, but we've got the Shadow Ball loaded. Shadow Ball easily gets the one-shot there. We're now going to swap into Zapdos, get an aggressive Thundershock farm down, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Florges. So at this point, I'm going to go straight for the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is going to deal big damage. It doesn't quite get the KO though, so maybe 2 Drill Pecks was the better play, but either way, they go for Trailblaze there for some reason. Don't really understand why, but we can go for Drill Peck. We don't even hit any bubbles. Drill Peck takes out the Florges, and we're able to take that game. Now going into the final battle, we're going to see a Toucannon in the lead. That is an awful matchup for us. We say swap into a level 50 Hundo Shadow Voltorb, and unfortunately met with a Kanto Marowak. Signal Beam does drop their defense and their attack stat there, which is quite nice for us. And now we're going to come back in with the Shinotic. Gonna no-shield here as they bait with a Bone Club. That is absolutely fine with us. You know what? We might just no-shield once again and commit to a full farm down. They go for yet another bait with the Bone Club, meaning we get the full farm down. And we're going to go for one Astonish, fire off a Sludge Bomb on good timing here. Sludge Bomb is going to be shielded. And we actually reach another move as I'm now realizing they are on Bullet Seed as the fast move. We are now going to eventually probably just let this move go through here and then come in with the Zoroark. The opponent is going to go for a Rock Blast for some reason. What on earth is going on? Toucannon, you've got way better moves than this. The opponent is going to fire off a Beak Blast, so they are at least running the Community Day move. But at this point, we're now going to look to overfarm. Just going to play it safe here, go for the Flamethrower, guarantee the KO, which we get there. And their final Pokemon is a Jellicent. So this game is absolutely over. You can see we're not running Shadow Ball, so we are debuffed here. Foul Play won't quite KO, but it's still does huge damage, and the opponent just concedes the match. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.